Good evening. I'm Bryant Gumbel. Here's what's happening tonight on Public Eye.
Hello.
You'd think Carol Townsend had just won the lottery. But in fact, she may have won something far greater, the life of her daughter.
You just pray a lot and you cry a lot.
The Townsend family faces a rare challenge. Daughter Lori is suffering from a disease that's destroying her lungs. Now they have a chance to save her, if someone will donate a part of their lung.
I'm on the donor list.
I didn't even think twice about it.
I would like to take her place. They are willingly doing it, and not only willingly, but they're standing up waving their arms. I want to be first in line.
When you discipline a child, it is necessary that you intimidate the child.
John Roseman says forget about getting in touch with your child's feelings. He's a psychologist who's taking old ideas of discipline and making them brand spanking new.
Just hurt, not cause permanent physical impairment. Sting, inflict, psychic pain.
There are people out there today who say it's child abuse.
Sure, but they say that without a shred of evidence.
If you're having trouble with your child, you'll want to hear this guru of discipline's advice. The faces are familiar. The technology to double them is tempting. We'll have the results of a less than serious Public Eye poll on cloning.
That was the basis of our whole deal, was push, push, push. We're going to the Olympics together and we're going to wow the world.
Peekaboo Street and Muffy Davis were childhood friends in search of Olympic fame and glory on their skis. But a devastating accident interrupted their plans and their friendship.
Sit down, take a load off.
Now they're not only friends again, but both are headed to the Olympics. Theirs is a story of healing and courage. Also tonight, the dancing baby that's the darling of the internet. We'll tell you how and why he's become such a star. And we'll show you a new dancing baby that you've never seen.
Live from CBS News, Public Eye with Bryant Gumbel. Those stories and more in just over a minute.
Dear Sir or Madam, I'm new Kleenex Cottonelle toilet paper, and I understand you have a cleaning position available. I come from a long line of cleaning professionals, and unlike other applicants for this job, I have a unique rippled texture designed to leave you feeling clean and fresh. In short, I'd love to show you what I can do. Sincerely, new Kleenex Cottonelle with texture. Your fresh approach to toilet paper. P.S. I don't need an office, just a bathroom.
Every day. Express mail packages the next day. Sundays and holidays. 365 days a year. Priority mail packages in 2 to 3 days. Even Saturdays at no extra charge. FedEx and UPS don't do that. We do. The U.S. Postal Service. We deliver packages to everyone, everywhere, every day.
Nana, why do you say I have my daddy smile?
Because you do, baby.
Is this it?
No, not quite. Hold on a second. Look at that. There's your daddy's smile.
Just because other cleaners are blue like Windex doesn't mean they can clean glass like Windex. Windex with Ammonia D leaves a beautiful streak-free shine just about anyone can appreciate. Windex, best on glass.
Tara Lipinski, the youngest world champion in history. She's 82 pounds of guts and grit, and now she's going for the knockout in Nagano. The Olympic Winter Games return to CBS. Share a moment with the world.
Now, live from CBS News in New York, here is Bryant Gumbel.
Good evening. Exactly 1 month from tonight, February 14th, the women's Olympic downhill competition will get underway in Nagano, Japan. And the American Peekaboo Street will be one of the favorites to win a gold medal. Now, as the date approaches, you're going to hear lots about Peekaboo. But there, except for fate, could go one Muffy Davis, a lifelong friend of streets who has traveled a different and difficult path. Theirs is a story of friendship that overcame tragedy. Lillehammer, Norway, 1994. An amazing American with an unusual name turns Olympic skiing upside down. Peekaboo Street brings home a medal. She's America's darling. But not everyone is cheering. 1994, Peekaboo wins a silver medal in the Olympics. And you are thinking...
I wish I was there.
That could be me.
I was hoping.
It could have been her, Muffy Davis. From the first time they strapped on skis back in Sun Valley, Idaho, she'd been Peekaboo Street's biggest rival. That's how you met as competitors.
We competed in riding our bikes in the summertime. We competed in getting around the hockey rink on our skates. There was never a moment when you could let up, because if I let up, she was right there and was gonna take it from me. Whoa!
Muffy and Peekaboo pushed each other to ski better, ski faster, ski farther than they had ever dreamed.
That was the basis of our whole deal, was push, push, push. We're going to the Olympics together and we're gonna wow the world.
It could have happened. Maybe it would have happened. But one day, everything changed. Take me back to the day when you heard about her accident.
Do I have to? It was hard. It was one of the toughest days of my life, actually, because I felt like something was stolen from her, and why her?
February 4, 1989. 16-year-old Muffy Davis was training in Sun Valley, skiing fast, perhaps as much as 50 miles an hour. Suddenly, she flew off course.
So I hit the first tree with my shoulder and my back, and I bounced off of that tree and hit the second tree with my head.
5 feet away from that one.
With my head.
With your head, with still enough force to crack this helmet considerably.
Yes. Had I not had that on, I would have either been severely brain injured or probably dead.
Muffy had broken her spine just below the rib cage. Her doctors said she'd never walk again, never ski again. For Muffy, that was the worst news of all.
There was a time where I wanted to die. I thought my life was over. I'd never date again. I'd never have another boyfriend. I couldn't ski anymore.
Muffy Davis did the only thing she could. She threw herself into her schoolwork. She became class president, class valedictorian, and went on to graduate with honors in pre-med from Stanford.
All right, Pete, rip it, baby. Come on.
She tried to forget about skiing, the Olympics, and Peekaboo Street.
She hated it, had a hateful passion in her belly for the sport and for me.
The winner of the silver medal, vainqueur de la médaille d'argent, Peekaboo Street, États-Unis d'Amérique.
For Peekaboo, the dream was coming true. World championships, endorsement deals, and that Olympic medal. Lillehammer, 94, when she won the silver. Did you cry?
Yes, I did. I remember exactly when I watched her run. I was happy for her because she did it. But it still hurt not to be there. It still made me realize my oldest dream kind of crashing down.
And it was hard for me. You know, I had a guilty conscience to some degree. Like,
come on, why?
What am I going to say to her when I see her? You know, I can't talk about it. I'm definitely not going to talk about it.
Why? You're not supposed to stop living.
I know I'm not supposed to stop living, but I don't need to, you know, I don't need to rub it in her face at all.
They didn't see each other. They didn't even talk. But you didn't exactly race to a phone to pick it up and go, hey, Peekaboo, congratulations.
No, it was too hard. I couldn't, it took me several years before I could get past the hurt and the pain.
Several years and this device. It's called a monoski. One ski, one chair, and one long learning curve.
Don't depend on me, you know what to do.
It wasn't easy.
No. No, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
You hated it, didn't you?
It wasn't skiing at first at all. It was not what I remembered skiing to be.
It took a little time and a lot of spills. But Muffy was skiing. Then racing.
Muffy Davis, the next racer on the course.
Go, Muffy!
Then winning.
And she has a good second run. Muffy Davis now in the lead.
Last year was my year I came here and I pulled my ski out of my truck myself and I came up and I skied all day long and it was like being back with a best friend. I mean, it was really great.
In more ways than one.
Sit down. Take a load off.
They've got a lot to talk about. Next month, Peekaboo and Muffy are finally headed to the Olympics. Peekaboo is a favorite in the downhill. And Muffy, she qualified for Nagano too, in the Paralympics, the disabled Olympics. They'll ski the same mountain and go for the gold together. It's not exactly the way they planned it so many years ago back in Sun Valley, but it's every bit as sweet.
The only difference this time is we won't be competing against each other. We'll both be bringing home golds.
Just ahead on Public Eye.
When you discipline a child, it is necessary that you intimidate the child.
Meet the no-nonsense child-rearing expert who says parents need to take charge of their kids.
If you've been looking for a migraine medicine that relieves your pain and doesn't leave you feeling drowsy and groggy, there's important news. Now you can break through the pain of most kinds of migraines with a different medicine. Today, doctors have Imitrex tablets. For most people, Imitrex relieves migraine pain, related nausea, and sensitivity to light without drowsy side effects, so you stay alert and active. Imitrex isn't for everyone. If you have certain types of heart disease or uncontrolled blood pressure, you shouldn't take Imitrex. Very rarely, certain people, even some without heart disease, have had serious heart-related problems. So talk to your doctor about this, especially if you have risk factors for heart disease, like smoking, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol, or if you are pregnant, nursing, or taking medications. Call toll-free for product information. Breakthrough migraine pain. Stay alert and active. Ask your doctor about the most prescribed migraine medicine in the U.S., Imitrex.
Dried pork chops are a bummer, but shake and bake locks in all the juices. Like a big gate around them, traps the juice in the pork chops, so it won't come out until you bite it.
Here you are, sir. This orange juice looked a lot bigger through the peephole. Come on, I'm sick. I need nutrients, you know? Plural, fluids. Those mini shampoo bottle makers are behind this, aren't they?
100% pure Florida orange juice. Are you drinking enough?
Introducing a toothpaste so revolutionary, it keeps working long after you finish brushing. New Colgate Total. Long-lasting protection that works from brushing to brushing. Fighting cavities and tartar from the start of your day and all throughout your day. Fighting bad breath while you play. And even plaque and gingivitis while you sleep. New Colgate Total. The brushing's so advanced, it works between brushing.
Rather amazing.
People are talking.
Delivering newsier news.
CBS News was first with a special report.
CBS spent the most time on the biggest stories.
Evening news more focused.
More viewers are tuning into CBS News.
People are talking about CBS News.
It began with a sudden death in a small town. What happened next, the devil only knows.
So it went in your chest? Right here.
A 48 Hours mystery, Thursday.
Let's turn our attention to disciplining the kids. It's an age-old family problem. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Do as I say and not as I do. Those were the watchwords of parental discipline. But as times changed, so too did conventional wisdom. Tough was out, nurturing was in. And that's when a man named John Roseman stepped to the fore. As Bernard Goldberg reports, Roseman's style isn't brand spanking new, but spanking's a part of it.
John Roseman is a family psychologist who thinks too many parents these days treat their kids as if they were royalty, then live to regret it.
For the first 2 years, your child makes a noise, you appear at the child's side. How may I serve you, my lord? You roll these children through shopping centers and other public places in portable thrones. It takes 2 years to create this fantasy. It takes 16 more to deconstruct it.
More than ever, Roseman says, parents today are not only obsessed, they're practically hysterical about raising their kids.
What do you want to do?
Yesterday's parents had Dr. Spock. Today's have entire sections in bookstores, stacked with chapter and verse on how to be a better parent.
The family of the 50s worked better than the family of the 90s. The marriage of the 50s worked better than the marriage of the 90s, and child rearing in the 50s worked better than child rearing in the 90s. We need to accept that.
John Roseman is a man who wants to go back to the future, and he's got a lot of company. Parents yearning for simpler times, who are turning him into a kind of common sense conglomerate.
Hi, ladies.
They read his books.
There you go.
His columns appear in more than 80 newspapers. They buy his magazine. They can find him on the web. He lives in North Carolina, but is on the road about 200 days a year, pretty much debunking all those modern theories on how to raise your children.
The idea of being a good parent has changed from being a role model to somebody who's supposed to be your friend.
There are a whole bunch of parents out there right now saying, right, I'm my kid's friend, and my kid is my friend.
And they're having more behavior problems with their children than their parents ever had with them.
Parents have got to draw a line in the sand and do it early, Roseman says.
When you can behave, I'll come back here and tell you you may come out. You're going to sit right there. Excuse me, no ma'am. You don't ever kick at mommy. Is that clear?
When kids get to be 2, it's time to teach them the facts of life.
Understanding number 1 from parent to child. Child of mine, from this point on in our relationship, you will learn to pay a lot more attention to me than I will ever again, generally speaking, pay to you.
And when it comes to that most controversial disciplinary tool, spanking, Roseman says an occasional slap on the backside is a good way to get your child's attention.
Just hurt, not cause permanent physical impairment. Hurt their feelings, sting, inflict psychic pain.
Spanking isn't necessary. There are other ways.
Adele Faber also writes books and lectures on child rearing.
If you spank one kid and you hit one kid, you can be pretty sure that if you've got more than one kid in the house, at one point he's going to be hitting his brother, because you're modeling every minute how to behave.
There are people out there today in your profession who say spanking is violence. It teaches kids to be violent. It's child abuse.
Sure, sure. But they say that without a shred of evidence. Not a shred.
So why has spanking become so, taboo?
Because it's easy to create a sense of hysteria about it.
Roseman says too many parents today are consumed with guilt if they don't spend 24 hours a day with their kids. And none more than mothers who work outside the house.
And today's female parent comes home with apology on her sleeve. I'm sorry, child of mine, for being away from you for 8 hours. What can I do for you? And immediately shifts into the role of servant. And I keep telling women, you don't respect the servants, you take them for granted.
You don't like his approach.
I don't. I think it's an uncaring, unloving approach. And one which says, I'm the boss and you have to listen to me and I don't care about how you feel. You've got to care about how I feel. And I mean, what kind of a way is that to live in the world? What kind of preparation is that for family life?
But Roseman says just because you're tough with your kids doesn't mean you don't love them. And whatever you think of his methods, they seem to work for his family.
Happy birthday!
John Roseman just turned 50 and has been married to the same woman for 30 years, Willie Roseman.
I want you to join me in wishing him a happy birthday.
Together, they raised 2 children, Amy, who's 25, and Eric, who's 28.
I think Dad's philosophy is the parent-child relationship's a dictatorship almost.
No.
You're not comparing your father to like Saddam Hussein or anything, right?
Napoleon, maybe. Only taller.
But that's not really fair. Napoleon never made his troops write, I will never again watch television without my parents' permission, over and over again.
250 times.
Because you were watching TV?
Mm-hmm. I was caught watching it when I wasn't supposed to be. See, at the beginning of the week, we had to give him a list of what we were going to watch, and he had to approve it.
See, it could be a treat.
John Roseman believes that what worked for his kid should work for most kids. That's Eric's son, Jack, who's 3, John Roseman's grandson. Normally, you'd think that going to Grandpa's house would be a vacation. Normally.
and he began throwing a tantrum over a piece of candy that I wouldn't give him.
So Grandpa Roseman created what he calls a defining moment. A moment a child is supposed to remember the next time he decides to throw a tantrum.
I took him out to the couch on the back porch and I lay him down, laying my hands on his shoulders, and he screamed for 15 minutes.
There you go.
Eventually, he calmed down and gave up the candy. A week later, Jack was back at his grandfather's house, this time trying to make off with a bag of peanuts from the kitchen.
And as he runs by me, I just step over and pick him up, and he starts to flail and scream and yell, "No!"
I laid him down on the rug, put my hands on his shoulders as I had done before, and I looked at him and I said, "Do you remember this?" And immediately he stopped screaming and he said, "Uh-huh." And I said, "Give me the peanuts." He gave me the peanuts. He got up. I looked at him and I said, "I love you, Jack." And he smiled at me and I walked off. A defining moment.
Does that make you uncomfortable?
It makes me enormously uncomfortable. It scares the heck out of me. Discipline is educating, it's teaching, it's guiding gently. It's not force and coercion.
You're teaching the child not to misbehave.
You're teaching him how to exercise his own power and strength over another human being. You're not teaching him the social skills he needs to get along in the world. That's what scares me.
And even Eric wasn't too happy with his father.
That's not my way of doing things.
That bother you?
A little bit, yeah.
And then move.
In the end, Roseman says, if you really love your kids, make sure they understand early on that the world does not revolve around them, that if they step out of line, they will be punished, and that there's a big difference between giving them what they really need and what they simply want.
That's an adult reality, as stated by that 20th century philosopher Mick Jagger. You can't always get what you want.
And your critics say you're hopelessly out of step.
Hopelessly out of step. It doesn't bother me at all. Not a shred.
Bernie Roseman accuses Adele Faber of not having a shred of evidence. Where's his evidence for this idea that marriages, families, were better in the 50s than they are in the 90s?
Well, he says, just look around. Kids today have problems kids in the 50s didn't even dream about.
Life's more complicated.
Well, the reason life's more complicated is because, in his view, parents are doing a much worse job.
You buy that?
Well, Roseman says that the biggest problem is that psychologists have taken over and they've pretty much screwed things up. And I think there's a lot to be said for that argument.
He's a psychologist.
Well, listen, yeah. that's why you're the investigative reporter.
Oh, yeah, right. And Catherine runs you, right. 9 years old. Thanks, Bernie. If you're looking for more information on child rearing and discipline, look no further than our website. The address is cbs.com/publiceye. Coming up next, we ask America, if you could clone someone, who would it be? The choices range from the Pope to Oprah Winfrey to you. There are some surprising results. Stay with us.
Still ahead on Public Eye.
I think it's bizarre.
He's the internet sensation who's dancing up a storm. Backstage with Technology's Child.
Lips as sweet as candy.
She was coming home to the jungle and to their wild, untamed love for butter, cut down by cholesterol. Until...
Darling, look what I've brought back.
I can't believe it's not butter.
It's the premier spread flavored with real sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol.
How civilized.
I can't believe it's not butter. The taste you love without the cholesterol.
Ever wish there was just one more seat in first class?
So did we.
TWA introduces Trans World First,
Our new expanded and enhanced first class.
We've added your seat and hundreds more.
60% more seats in all.
So more of you can enjoy all kinds of new first-class perks.
Like freshly baked Mrs. Phil's cookies, Ambassadors Club privileges, and more to come.
Now it's all here with your seat on Trans World First.
For Trans World Airlines.
We want to be your airline.
The Olympic Winter Games return to CBS. Share a moment with the world.
On America's Night of Television, 7 of the baddest good guys in the West will defend abused women, no matter what the cost. All new Magnificent 7. Then,
you have a princess upstairs in your bed.
Can knowing tomorrow's news today rescue a princess from danger?
Hey, stop the train!
All new early edition. And 10 of America's wealthiest are held hostage. How will Chuck Norris protect their assets?
Everybody's gonna die!
On an all-new Walker, Texas Ranger, CBS Saturday.
For nearly 50 years,
Here's to us, best friends.
they've survived hardships,
Did you ever imagine that we'd be widows at this age?
new loves,
I'm just about to die of shot here.
and wild times.
I bought a gun. So now you're Annie Oakley?
But when their worlds fall apart,
I feel much better with you here.
they'll need each other more than ever.
If it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't be me.
Linda Lavin, Jenna Rollins, Best Friends for Life, a world premiere movie, CBS Sunday.
Now, once again, live from CBS News, Public Eye. Here is Bryant Gumbel.
Last week, when a scientist named Richard Seed announced that he wanted to start cloning humans, he drew a lot of anger. After all, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. But the good doctor's idea got us to wondering about public demand for second helpings of some prominent people. And so we took a poll last night and gave folks a list of famous names, then asked them to clone or not to clone. Overwhelmingly, people said not. But when we asked them to humor us, here's what we found. At the bottom of our list, they told us, for example, that one Kathy Lee Gifford was more than enough. By contrast, Air Jordan fans gave their highest marks to the idea of a Jordan Air. They were lukewarm to the thought of 2 Sinatras singing our way, but the prospect of a second Pope John Paul II met with mass approval. Hillary Clinton got some votes in favor of a second First Lady, and those asked liked the thought of Oprah being twice as nice. People did not take kindly to the thought of cloning themselves, but did give higher marks to the idea of cloning mom and dad. By the way, almost no one thinks Richard Seed really has the wherewithal to clone anyone. In his insistence on wanting to try, he still is thankfully one of a kind. If asked, most people would probably say there's no limit to what they'd do to save the life of a family member. Well, the loved ones of a young woman named Lori Townsend had their love put to the test, and every one of their large extended family responded in a way that should hearten us all. Peter Van Sant has an extraordinary story of one family's life and death struggle.
25-year-old Lori Townsend grew up here among the apple orchards in western Pennsylvania on the family farm.
That's what it is, an old-fashioned farmer, so it is.
Surrounded by cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents, it was a perfect picture of rural American life.
It's nice.
Except for one thing. Lori Townsend has been suffering from cystic fibrosis since birth, a genetic disease that has destroyed her lungs.
What is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is losing Lori. We're going to make it through it.
Ed and Carol Townsend's greatest fear is coming true. Their only daughter is slowly suffocating to death.
The hardest thing was when she told me she didn't want to die. And really, I didn't have no real answer for her.
How do you deal with that?
You just pray a lot and you cry a lot.
I would like us all to join together in praying for Lori.
Carol's prayers were answered. Lori was offered another chance at life, a new, controversial kind of double lung transplant. The donors are not dead, they're living. Surgeon Bartley Griffith at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center.
It's her only choice. Without it, she will predictably not survive 6 months.
The bottom line is Lori can't wait.
Lori can't wait. She is like a ripening apple about ready to fall to the ground.
The wait for cadaver lungs is over 2 years.
My daughter just won't make it to somebody passing away and donating them, so the living donors, only hope we got.
Ed and Carol raced to find 2 donors, relatives with a matching blood type willing to give up a small part of one lung called a lobe. The operation would leave each donor with enough lung capacity to live and breathe normally. It would be an extraordinary gift, one at first Lori was unwilling to accept.
I didn't see how I could ask anybody to do that. But a lot of the people you didn't even have to ask.
This is my brother Bert.
Pleased to meet you.
This is my brother Gary. He's not going to say nothing.
The Townsends started looking for volunteers.
I'm on the donor list.
I didn't even think twice about it.
I would like to take her place.
It should be me, not one of them.
We all volunteered. We had 37 people.
The Townsends' family spirit overwhelmed even the transplant team. Surgeon Robert Keenan.
They're incredibly brave people. They are willingly doing it, and not only willingly, but they're standing up waving their arms. I want to be first in line.
It wasn't just the family.
We're going to be playing some special songs just for Lori a little bit later on.
The entire community of Spring Church, Pennsylvania pitched in to raise money and hope.
Walkathon is just for Lori.
We figure we have over 5,000 right now.
If there's anything else that we can do, let us know, for God's sake.
Do you feel this love and support? Do you sense it from everyone?
There's so much love, so much giving that you never really knew was out there. The love keeps you going, because you couldn't just make it on your own.
By harvest's end, the Townsends' hope turned to worry. Doctors still hadn't found the right 2 donors. Meanwhile, Lori was getting sicker.
We're just like on hold, just patiently waiting to hear who they are.
You can't really sleep at night. You wake up and it just hits you again and again and again, and you're afraid that she's going to get worse and they won't do the operation.
Just waiting for that call. Hello.
Hi, Mrs. Townsend?
Yes.
This is Dan Faust calling from UPMC. How are you?
Good.
Is your husband in?
No, he isn't.
I need to speak directly with him about the donation.
Bye. Oh my gosh. I gotta go find Ed. Down here. I'm really excited. I can't wait to find where he's at. Ed! Yeah. Come in, Dan wants to talk to you. He's gonna call right back. I'm so excited. Dan called. Huh? Dan called. We're gonna find out who the donors are.
Huh?
Oh, there it is.
Hello, Townsends.
Mr. Townsend, I wanted to let you know that we've selected you to be one of the donors. And how do you feel about that?
That's great.
Excited. Excited and a little bit scared, we'll put it that way.
Well, we're excited also.
I could just jump, just so excited. We're on our way. Just scream. Tell everybody.
Alrighty, now what we're going to do is...
For the next 2 weeks, Ed is checked from head to toe to make certain he's healthy enough to withstand the operation.
Okay.
Now I know what Lori feels like a little bit.
Never smoked, huh?
Never smoked. Well, I did when I wasn't allowed, but I never started inhaling. Okay, Bill Clinton.
Dr. Griffith's greatest fear is that one of the donors will die.
We have created an operation that has the potential for a 300% mortality.
3 people could die.
Yeah. And Lori's risk, I think, is carrying the emotional burden of knowing whether she lives or dies. Her donors will be at risk.
Tell me about your dad. Your feelings about what he's about to go through?
I can't. I don't know what to say. I can't talk about that.
I might not be able to come up here. I might not be able to hunt, to do everything I like to do. Maybe I'll be crippled for the rest of my life. But hey, even if something would go wrong, I would do it all again.
Are these donors heroes in your view?
Oh, they define it. In spite of physicians telling them about all these risks, they keep coming back saying, why aren't we doing it yesterday?
I told a doctor down there to bring his little silver tray out and all his sharp little knives and let's get the show on the road. So I'll do this tomorrow.
Lori's cousin Steve gets his wish. He's chosen as the second donor.
What would you say to somebody who's watching this who would say, you know, I'd be willing to make a lot of sacrifices for a cousin, but not a piece of my body?
She's too young to go leave us yet. I told the doctor if I could give her one more year, I'd be satisfied.
But a few days before surgery, a problem. Something was spotted on one of Steve's x-rays.
Getting real nervous.
It's not life-threatening, but it may disqualify him as a donor. Nevertheless, preparations move forward.
All systems go so far.
It is 2 days before the transplant. Lori is about to be transferred to another hospital for the operation. Dr. Joel Weinberg has been treating Lori for the past 8 years, seen her through the good times and the bad. Today is one of the bad times.
Steve flunked the biopsy. Now he's okay, but they're gonna have to go through some more donors to get another party. And you can last that long.
How long will that take?
They'll go through the list again, but realistically, it's going to be another 4 weeks.
You keep letting them know how she is, and because we don't want to.
I'm always in their faces.
I know you are.
You know, I'm not going to let.
Thank you too.
We're not going to let them down, but and we'll keep her as healthy as we can.
You can see what it does to you. You can have it let down, and this is one of ours.
Her health is precarious, but let's just hope. We need a lot of prayer.
The answer to their prayers is Mary Townsend, Lori's paternal aunt.
I said, I'll do it.
No hesitation.
No.
Why?
I just don't want to see her die.
And you'll do anything you can to prevent that. At whatever cost to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because?
I love her. You're going to do great, sweetie.
Lori has only a 50% chance of surviving the operation. But if she does, her new lungs will be forever free of cystic fibrosis.
Keep tough.
This time, everything is go.
We're closing in.
Counting down the minutes.
The transplant is scheduled for 7:30 tomorrow morning.
Hold up all right?
Yes, we're getting down to the last minute here. The scary part.
Are you scared?
Oh, yeah. I could die. I'm not ready to die. I think I'm going to make it.
Going into this, they're all going to be a bit scared. Are you going to be scared too?
Is anybody listening? Of course.
We're praying that everything goes well with all 3 of them. So,
yeah, God's going to be with them.
We're feeling it.
They're in God's hand now.
Yes.
Dear God, please guide the doctor's hands. Let these candles light the way for Lori.
No, God's watching over them.
"5:30 a.m. Time to say goodbye.
Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask that you be the strength that comes in the midst of weakness, and that you be the light that shines in the midst of darkness. God, we pray that you be a source of peace. Let Lori know that your spirit is there. Amen.
Amen. All right, we're getting close here. You got about 10 minutes, and then we're out.
These are tears of joy because everything's going to be just fine.
You know we're going to be okay, don't you? I'm going to be there for you.
I know.
And I love you very, very much.
I love you too. Thanks for being here.
No, if I got to be down there at 6 here.
Can't you wait to leave here?
I don't know. When are you leaving?
Like, anytime now?
I guess they can wait for me. They can't go
5
without
minutes
us, can they?
You ready?
Well, we can take real good care of you, I promise.
Lori Townsend is in for the fight of her life.
The look of love is in your eyes. The look, your heart.
Who could keep their mind off the new little chocolate cookies from Snackwells? With luscious peanut butter or chocolate chips. Snackwells. Passion, desire, devotion. Nah, it goes way beyond that.
Everyone likes to get packages. Packages to keep businesses running, to bring people closer. The U.S. Postal Service uses more planes with more trucks and people to deliver for your business than FedEx and UPS combined. We deliver packages to everyone, everywhere, every day.
There are cars that are built to appeal to your passionate side and your practical side. Chrysler Cirrus LXI. For the passionate, it has many standard luxury features that cost extra on Toyota Camry, like ABS, Air V6, leather-trimmed interior with an 8-way power driver's seat. And compared to Camry LE V6, Chrysler Cirrus is over $6,000 less. That's for your practical side. Chrysler, engineered to be great cars.
We worry about him watching too much TV.
Eating too much candy.
But too much cold medicine? Never crossed our minds.
Till Annie's last cold. She doesn't have a fever, see? We realized we were giving her medicine for symptoms she didn't even have.
Now we use Triaminic.
Triaminic lets us choose the formula that matches her symptoms.
So there's no chance of side effects from unnecessary medicine. Annie.
With the widest range of formulas, only Triaminic lets you choose the right relief without the worry.
Trust me, we have enough to worry about.
Next, a teenager
The girl had holes in the palms of her hands.
becomes a medical mystery.
Please make it go away.
A startling new Chicago Hope, CBS Next. Thursday, a family on the run from a secret
We both know that something's going on and that it involves children.
could cost a man his life. Ted Shackelford guests on Promised Land. Then, Dick Van Dyke becomes a pawn in a deadly mob war.
My father's gonna be executed. You have to help me!
The case is closed. Diagnosis Murder. It's all CBS Thursday.
As promised, we now continue Peter Van Zant's compelling story of Lori Townsend. As we rejoin, Lori, her father, and her aunt are about to take part in a stunning medical gamble, a rare and complicated double lung transplant. It's Lori's last chance.
They're good people. And just stunning emotionally, you know.
Honestly, doctor, this is a tough surgery today.
Yeah, should be what I'm trained for.
Good luck.
See ya.
The surgical procedure in itself is a logistical masterpiece. Over the next 6 hours, 3 operating rooms will be working in perfect harmony. Dr. Griffith begins with Lori.
Dr. Griffith, what are you doing right now?
Well, we've just divided the breastbone, and we're beginning to open this incision up, almost like opening the hood on a Buick.
Am I looking at her lungs right now?
Her lungs are pretty big. They're overdistended and expanded beyond what nature had in mind. Spreaders.
Lori is now being kept alive by a heart-lung machine.
All right. Well, I'm going to go and we'll get started on one of the donors then. Where we're going is to Ed's OR. Ed's donating the right lung. Mr. Townsend's on the ventilator now.
In a second operating room, Dr. Keenan begins removing Ed's lower right lobe.
Okay, I need the big sucker now. Okay, we're now going to be removing this lobe.
Timing is critical. Dr. Keenan is ready to remove Ed's lobe and bring it to Dr. Griffith.
Taking too much time with this. Tell him I don't want it in 20 minutes. Tell him you keep it in the patient until I'm ready.
We'll wait a couple of minutes then. Make sure Bart has enough. I don't want him bitching.
Cup the heart with your hand, just pull it right up over.
Dr. Griffith is ready to take out Lori's diseased lungs.
Both lungs are out now.
Okay, we're now removing this lobe. It looks terrific. All right, let's go. We're going to go over to room 5. Normally, even with donor runs, it's a little bit more leisurely as we're running across here, but I don't want to drop this thing on the floor. The whole idea here is to try and keep this relatively cold and out of somebody's body for as short a period of time as possible. So that's why we want to get over. This is the right lower lobe from Ed.
All right. It looks nice. Yeah.
While Dr. Griffith attaches Ed's lobe, Mary's is being removed in a third operating room.
Small lady.
30.
Meanwhile, the Townsends wait for news.
Right now, things are moving along, and they have the first lung halfway in.
Wow.
Okay?
Good news, huh?
Just easy, just gentle. Gorgeous. Okay. Getting the hang of this, huh?
Keenan takes Mary's lobe into Lori's operating room.
Number 2. This is the lobe for Mary. Mary was a little bit more difficult than Ed was.
Is Mary doing all right?
Mary's great.
Worked out all right.
Griffith attaches Mary's lobe to Lori.
Game's not over yet, guys.
You like what you see right now?
We're not sure yet, Peter. Keep our fingers crossed.
You never know how a lung's going to react to being out of somebody's body, to being flushed, to being traumatized like that.
We could have primary failure of the organ. But I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to will it. Let me know when the protamine's half in.
This is Lori's moment of truth.
We're ready to come off bypass if you guys are.
Whether or not she'll be able to breathe on her own.
Off, please. All right, take your time. Let's go gentle. We're pulling the venous line. This is the most important time. She looks awful jumpy. How's she doing? Can you get a cardiac output? That's fine. Okay, good. We've now separated from the heart-lung machine, so she's totally dependent on her own heart and the 2 new lobes.
All 3 patients are taken to the intensive care unit. The surgeries have been successful, but Lori is by no means out of the woods.
Now, Dr. Keenan and I have completed the operation. Right now, Lori's stable.
Both Ed and Mary did very well. And the important thing for now is for them to know that they've done everything they could.
Things are okay so far, and that they can still turn on a dime. And we can be looking great, and within an hour not look so great. It's a very, very cruel specialty, frankly, well beyond our ability to predict.
Shortly after the transplant, Lori took a turn for the worse. She suffered a debilitating seizure and was in a coma for weeks. Doctors didn't know what caused it or how to treat it.
She just really didn't wake up for quite a while. It was a long time before she started to respond to us. I was scared to death. I've cried a lot, but never gave up.
Slowly, Lori started to come back.
Let's step with the left again.
She spent weeks in physical therapy,
Nice job, Lori.
determined to keep a promise that she had made to her brother Scott, to be a bridesmaid at his wedding.
One more.
Lori kept that promise. That was June. By July, everything changed.
Lori took a turn to the worst. The pneumonia's in both lungs now, so it is.
She's a fighter. Won't give up.
I know she fought all this time, and if she wants to go, I won't be mad at her. And a part of me goes with her.
Lori went home. It was there, on the Townsend family farm, that she quietly died.
I lost my little girl. She's our angel now. She's in heaven.
It just wasn't meant to be. It was her time to go. And giving my lung was nothing. I would do it all over again, so I would. Life is precious, so it is.
Public Eye with Bryant Gumbel will continue in just a few moments.
No matter how old your furniture may be, keep it looking young with Pledge, with cleansing conditioners. For beautiful wood you won't get with regular dusting. Pledge, for beautiful wood every time you dust.
Another breakthrough from the 1 Hour Labs of Lens Crafters. New Featherweights Plus lenses. They're lighter, they're thinner, they're more impact resistant. And now they're twice as scratch resistant compared to regular plastic lenses. New Featherweights Plus, only from Lens Crafters, made in about an hour.
There you are, sir.
This orange juice looked a lot bigger through the peephole.
It did?
Well, look at this puny thing. I've got a cold. I need vitamins, minerals, nutrients, plural. You know, fluids. Those mini shampoo bottle makers are behind this, aren't they?
100% pure Florida orange juice. Are you drinking enough?
I got you a mug, sir.
A mug? Gee, how'd you get past security?
This is the sound of small businesses doing more business with Fridays free. They're doing more because thanks to Sprint, all their long distance on Fridays is free. While the rest of the week, they're still getting Sprint's low flat rates. Even better, call now and get Fridays free until the year 2000 with no term commitment. Call 1-800-598-5000 for Fridays free. Only from Sprint Business.
Tonight on Dave, the Hollywood heavyweights Martin Scorsese and Peter O'Toole.
I love the creative process.
Tonight on The Late Show.
What's worse than seeing your dad on a date?
Could you two give it a rest? I mean, it's like you're on shore leave.
Seeing him come out of her apartment.
Morning, Daddy.
All new Gregory Hines, CBS Friday.
Here again is Bryant Gumbel.
It's no secret that we live in an age of media celebrity in which anyone can become a somebody overnight. But throw computers and the internet into the mix and you can end up with a genuine nobody becoming a superstar. Richard Schlesinger has a case in point.
More people have played with this newborn than any other infant in history. Just a point and a click. And oh baby, can it dance.
All my friends never know my
It is sick. That is just a sick little baby.
I think it's bizarre.
I gotta like that.
The dancing baby is the brainchild of computer animators, including Michael Gerard, who wanted to show off some new software.
We almost felt like Dr. Frankenstein in the sense that we had this new capability.
It was a virtual star in the cyber world for more than a year, and then last week, it hit the real world of TV sitcoms.
All right, Mr. Huggy, you want to dance? Let's go.
Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing.
Now about 50,000 people every day dial up a web page and put the baby through its paces. That has proven to be 18-year-old Rob Sheridan's claim to fame. He gave the baby a home, actually a home page, which he maintains so the cyber world can come calling.
It's just the kind of stupid, quirky little thing that just thrives on the internet.
Fertile imaginations have given birth to all sorts of variations of the same nameless microkid. Tomorrow on the internet, the dancing baby will have a world premiere of sorts. A new dance, but we're able to show it to you now. Here's tomorrow's news today. You saw it here first.
I'm sorry, the baby cracks us up. Look, before we leave you, we want to give you a quick check of some of the email we're getting tonight. On child discipline, this from Chris T. in Windsor, Connecticut. As a public school teacher of 10-year-old fifth graders, I can use all the help I can get from parents today. The more disciplined the child, the better the learner. And from Cindy H. in Reed Spring, Missouri, we are supposed to set the guidelines for our children, not the children setting the guidelines for the adults. Before we step aside, here's Dan Rather with a look at what's ahead from CBS News.
On tomorrow's evening news, we'll take you to a really tough jail where the inmates have to pay as long as they stay for almost everything. And later tomorrow night on 48 Hours.
Stopping children from risking their lives.
I wasn't afraid to die.
Where the bullet went in your chest and...
Right here.
Could this be your team?
And he had a satanic Bible.
These kids, they worship death. Tomorrow night on 48 Hours.
And one final reminder, next week on Public Eye, we'll profile singer-composer Paul Simon, who, amid controversy, is set to lift the curtain on a controversial play on Broadway, The Cape Man. That's our show for tonight. For all of us in Studio 45 and here at Public Eye, I'm Bryant Gumbel. Thanks so very much for joining us. Have a good night.
For a video cassette of tonight's Public Eye with Bryant Gumbel, please call 1-800-934-NEWS.
On America's Night of Television, 7 of the baddest good guys in the West will defend abused women, no matter what the cost. All new Magnificent 7. Then, a royal runaway.
Who are you?
Becomes an unexpected house guest.
You have a princess upstairs in your bed.
Early edition. And 10 of America's wealthiest are held hostage. How will Chuck Norris protect their assets?
Everybody's gonna die!
An all-new Walker on America's Night of Television, CBS Saturday.
The Olympic Winter Games return to CBS. Share a moment with the world.